Very good afternoon, all of you. I am Professor Narayana Reddy, Regional Vice President, South Association of Indian Management Schools. I am very happy to moderate this particular session. On behalf of AIMS, I welcome our key speaker and also the participants to this very interesting webinar. I'm also happy to see my close friends and colleagues, Professor V. Ramesh, Dr. Ashalata, Professor Gurunatha Naidu, and many others have taken time to join this particular session. I welcome all of you to this very impact-making session, that is green HR practices and utilities for the business schools and also organizations. I would like to briefly introduce the Association of Indian Management Schools as a customary to the participants. As you all know, that Association of Indian Management Schools is a highly impact-making networking body and also policy advocacy role it is playing. It has more than 800 business schools as its members, second largest networking body in the world, as AIMS has been involved in protecting the interest of management institutions from the vagaries of restrictive governmental regulations, professionalization of management education, creating and disseminating knowledge related to the management through its various activities, like organizing roundtables for deans and directors, faculty members, faculty development programs, organizing conventions, and also supporting partially to member institutions, particularly in financial assistance and research funding to member institutions to organize the programs and conduct the research activities. Of late, there has been a spurt in diversifying AIMS activities for the benefit of deans and directors, researchers, the faculty, and also the students in the shaping of inspiring young minds and also knowledge sharing sessions. And every week we are conducting one program of this kind, and there is almost 9,000 participants so far participated in our sessions conducted during the last 3 months. This itself shows the AIMS organizing activities and its impact on the academicians and also the students, including stakeholders. With this brief information, I would like to introduce our today's guest speaker. We have Professor J.S. Pandey. Professor J.S. Pandey is the senior scientist from CSIR. His contributions to the scientific field over a period of 3.5 decades constitutes so much of information. In fact, it is a really fascinating to go through the profile of our resource person, Professor Jaishankar Pandey. He did his engineering from IIT Kharagpur in 1977 and post-graduation and also doctorate in the year 1987 and joined as a scientist in CSIR. Since then, he has been worked in the field till the retirement, and even after his retirement, he has been contributing significantly. And his areas of interest is very important in the present context, actually. Ecological engineering, environmental analytics, ecosystem of health risk management, human health risk management assessment, ecological and carbon footprinting, ecological economics, and ecosystem services. And if we go and read this, really it is amazing to see the profile of our guest speaker. His areas of interest are environmental analytics, that is application of accretion of data and modulation, and environmentally viable engineering estimates in environmental management. Number of national and international research projects he has carried out, which has created an impact in various states in the country and also outside. He is a well-recognized scientist, awarded with a number of awards in different timings, and it may take more time to go through the details. I'm really very, very happy that he has been awarded as Sahitya Shiromani Samman Award in 2007, which is very, very recognizable in the society. And he has been carrying out a number of voluntary activities also, along with promoting the scientific temperament and skill development activities across the country. So with these few words, I once again welcome Professor J.S. Pandey to interact with our participants on green HR practices and utilities for business schools and also organizations across the national and international. Sir, with these few words, I welcome you to this session. Now you take over the session.
Thank you, Professor Reddy, for so nicely introducing me. So kind of you. We have been in touch a long time, and finally it culminated in our online live interaction. Thank you so much. I must also thank the participants and friends from AIMS and all those people who are participating in this seminar. Normally, because you can expect my language would be different from normally the jargons you are used to, because in the business world, there are different jargons. So I have tried to fuse your management with environmental management. So title of my presentation is Green HR and its Utility for Business Institutes and Organizations. So if there is an MBA program in some institutes, it is already there. I have learned it through my interactions with the knowledge search. The Master of Business Administration in Sustainability or Green Management will, part of my screen is being part of my screen is not visible. Okay. The Master's Administration in Sustainability or Green Management is basically the integration of business, engineering, and law with the concepts of sustainability and climate change. This will help in developing various technical, managerial, and administrative skills so as to prepare the graduates to emerge as a leader in government, public, private, and NGO sectors. In order to tackle complex business challenges, the MBA curriculum would need to be designed in such a way which will produce innovative mindset and the intellectual agility and ability. Moreover, the candidates would need to get physically and mentally equipped to tackle various administrative, managerial, technical, and other analytical abilities and strategies, which are all interlinked. How MBA in green environmental management would actually help, and what are the career opportunities and future prospects if one gets the degree in green management. Protection of environment is essential for our health, which is directly dependent on surrounding ecosystems, and it is one of the most important and rising concerns these days. After completing this course, the candidates can get various opportunities in private organizations, government organizations, or wildlife and forest department, academic institutions, and even in media management. like National Geographic Channel or Discovery Channel, etc. And they can occupy posts like sustainable. Already these posts are occupied by various management graduates: Sustainability Director, Corporate Consultant, Chief Sustainability Officer, Environmental Policy Director, Health and Safety Officer or Director, Energy and Sustainability Director, Environmental Director, etc. Candidates with MBA degree in environmental management can expect a good amount of salary also, which is the real attraction these days of younger generation. However, in addition to experience, various communication skills, administrative and managerial abilities, location and company profile would also count, and they will play an important role in determining the salary of a candidate. What does an environmental manager do? Many of you would be curious to find out. And what does an MBA in environmental management contain? Environmental managers are responsible for overseeing the environmental aspect of various organizations. They're also responsible for developing, implementing, and monitoring environmental strategies on sustainable development. Moreover, they advise organizations on how to minimize their impact on the environment by developing strategies for waste management, renewable energy, recycling, pollution control, etc. A 2-year MBA in environmental management should, amongst other things, include the following: air, water, soil, and noise pollution, and their impacts on ecosystem and human health. It should also include various other associated concerns like global warming, industrial discharges, waste discharges, deforestation, biodiversity losses and management, issues of sustainable development, and so as to manage all the technical, administrative, and management problems. It's a budding master's program whose importance is growing day by day. Who should study MBA in environmental management, and what is expected from the students? For pursuing MBA in environmental management, the candidates must have strong analytical abilities with good decision-making skills and creative mind, etc. Candidates must also have completed a bachelor's degree in any discipline of the duration of 3 years from a recognized institute or university after 12th. The candidates are also required to qualify entrance tests such as CAT, GATE, GMAT, etc. Candidates should have an interest in environmental matters and should be willing to participate in the areas related to protection of the environment. It also includes the candidates who are aiming to become an entrepreneur and looking forward to do business in the area of cleaner technologies, in particular, and environmental management in general. During their coursework, students can attend various conferences, seminars, talks, visits. They can do case studies that would enhance their understanding of the subject and make them more aware of the protection, about the protection of the environment. How do we start? How AIMS can play a role in this? We can start with a program called Mentoring the Mentors program. To start with, we can have faculty members and environmental management plus to start environmental management plus the management of climate change and MBA course, which are being already run by various institutes under AIMS. Inter alia, this would involve coordination amongst various management institutes and their mentors for redesigning a new framework for teaching, integrated and inspiring teaching and evaluation. It would also require standardizing the syllabus of green management course, because probably at the moment it is in a very fragment. Different institutions have different kind of things in their syllabus. Redesigning and reformatting the examination framework. Actually, most of us now realize that our education system and the evaluation system, they are not actually serving the purpose for which the society is really aiming at. emphasizing the need for case studies and formulating their designs rather than just conducting some routine examinations. Moreover, I would also like to invite your attention, advice, and like view of the need, utility, and requirement of your university institute. What would be requirements and other financial implications, etc., of the likely full-time and part-time roles which this program would entail, need, and require. Roughly the course description, this is the summary of what the course description on green management would have. It should mainly on the issues, the application of eco-friendly business development and ideas to ensure growth and stability together in corporate and business affairs. The course should examine the inherent interlinking of interactions between sustainability, ecological economics, climate change, environment management, environment health, human health issues, scientific understanding of cause and effect relationships, and delineation of appropriate region-specific, process-specific environmental management plans based on the integration of climate change and environmental pollution issues. This course, as an integral part of human engineering and resource development, prepares the candidates to have the opportunities in the area of green jobs. Therefore, a distinct advantage of the sustainability course study is that it is an impactful career choice, which a student gets having done a course on sustainability will sustain him through the dissatisfaction and demotivation associated with various jobs these days, because you see the attrition rate in various companies is so high. Learning objectives would be of the following kind. Management of an international business or one exposed to global competition requires knowledge of sustainability and inherent ecological economics. From this course, the students would learn the global context of multinational green business and management, the economic dimensions of ecological risks and dynamics of global green markets and driving forces, the assessment of global green markets, interdependencies and interconnections of ecological footprints and carbon footprints and human development index, the evaluation of various ecological economic risks because of inherent climate and environmental issues, and the issues which need to be tackled so as to sustain the real value of multinational business. The implications of sustainability in the ever-changing international markets and financial societies. Focus of the study. The course should be taught from the perspective of training the students with the focus on issues related to global sustainability, climate change, and integrated environmental management dimensions. The course can initially be taught in collaboration with appropriate institutions, individuals in the form of involving them as visiting adjunct or emeritus professors, etc. The subject pedagogy will be a mix of lectures, assignments, field exposures, discussions, case study presentations, workshops, multimedia-based group discussions, debating in classroom and take-home exercises, and role plays. The methodology would have emphasis on example-based, field-based, and in the form of assignments wherever possible around real life and challenging problems related to sustainable environmental management, industrial operations in the food, textile, commerce and residential sectors, etc. Importance of the course. Based on a holistic picture of sustainable development, global, regional, and local perspective, environmental impact assessment, ecological and human health risk assessment, and ecological economic implications. This course is interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary in nature and highly recommended for students going to be smart managers with dreams of working with multinational and global manufacturing, financial services, and technology companies. After doing this course, they can manage and deal with these global enterprises with a sustainability-related international business and risk management orientation. Evaluation framework, group project, class preparedness, and participation. The evaluation framework would include the following: knowledge and understanding, cognitive and intellectual skills, IT and team work-related skills, personality development skills, employment-related skills. Group project, class preparedness, and participation. would be done in the following manner. Sprints can be divided into groups of 4 to 5 for each group activity. Topics for group activities along with detailed guidelines for these activities can be provided to sprints. The time frame will also be communicated in the initial sessions of the course. Class preparedness and participation will be evaluated through a mix of many activities, such as pre-reading, case study discussions, group discussions, etc. Now, what is environmental business? I think you would be equally curious to find this out. Environmental protection recognizes the environment as an economic externality that must go through regulations that ban or limit activities that degrade the environment. Under this view, cost-benefit analysis resolves conflicts between the economy and the environment, the goal of reducing the quantity and toxicity of waste. Resource management attempts to internalize environmental costs through measure of various programs such as green taxes or tradable pollution permits, etc. Eco-development suggests making the economy sustainable by modeling industrial production, which entails moving from linear production systems to closed circular ones. It puts emphasis on designs that avoid toxic materials while replacing renewable resources and ensuring recycling of essential non-renewable materials. Sectors which would require management. Organizations worldwide, from government agencies to retailers and financial institutions, are now looking at the current and future impact of their activities. Areas under consideration include air, water, and soil quality management, energy management, waste disposal and management, carbon management, biodiversity management, noise management, etc. Some companies which are dealing exclusively with sustainability. There are many, but I have just listed a few which are important in nature. Patagonia, Seventh Generation, a good company, New Belgium Brewing, Pela, Dr. Bronner's, Preserve, Numi Organic Tea, Allbirds, Tentry, Aspiration, Avocado Green Mattress, Tablas Creek, Mud Jeans, Groove Collaboratives. Now, this is what would be useful for the management institutions. Now I will speak about what we did at NEERI or what specifically I did. Basically, the approach which I followed in the presentation is, which I have followed in earlier presentations also wherever I have spoken. So what has been done, how it is useful, how did we start initially, in the beginning, what kinds of problems arose? Because if you start a new exercise, always you will face some new problems, and then you have to deal with those problems regarding methodology, data availability analysis, interpretation, and modeling. Then the references, how did we verify whether we are on the right track, we are going in the right direction, cross-references, etc., cross-checking, validation of initial results, then continuous refinement on the studies. When I started my work at NEERI, it was in 1987 I joined, and the then director who had recruited me was Professor Khanna. Actually, NEERI owes a lot to him because he really revamped the way National Environmental Engineering Research Institute then was working. So I happened to be the first recruit under him. So first day when I met him, he called me to his chamber, and I still remember the first meeting with him. So he told me, Dr. Pandey, I have called you from IIT Kharagpur so that you can do in this institute what has not been earlier tried. Because I want to do something which NEERI has not laid its hand on earlier. That was my assignment. He said, and then it was 87. He said, the areas on which I can suggest you can work on climate change issues, ozone layer depletion, ecological modeling. He said, this country has not heard of these keywords, and if you can work on this, you can do wonders. So I started reading. Most of the areas which are listed here actually are the offshoots of the climate change program for CSIR, which I was coordinating. So these ecosystem health risk assessment, human health risk assessment, climate change, ecological and carbon footprinting, ecological economics and ecosystem services, phytoremediation and environmental water demands. It is environmental services, actually it is. They now call it water credits and all that. Environmental awareness, of course, event management training and skill development. It was my recent assignment. I think for the past 5-6 years, I was doing this skill development because I was the head of climate change program and skilling division. And we prepared some environmental health cards for some of the districts. I will show you some case studies which will be useful for people who are aspiring to do PhD degrees. Now, some of my recent publications are like this, looking at climate change and its socio-economic and ecological implications through BGC. BGC is biogeochemical cycles lens, and ADAM, that is accretion of data and modulation, and EVE, environmentally viable engineering estimates analysis. Actually, a lot of things can be done, and a lot of things have been already done. But still, we have so many problems sitting on our head, so many environmental problems, so many pollution problems. It is mainly because most of the solutions which are being found out are not environmentally viable. They're not practical. They're not feasible. So they remain on papers. So people are mainly in academic institutions. People are busy preparing, publishing papers, because that is what counts in their recruitment, in their promotion. Now UGC chairman has now revised and he says publication is not so important and someone can get a PhD without having any publication also. So I really thank him for taking this initiative, because publication market had really become almost a business market recently for past 5-10 years. And it actually doesn't serve the purpose, because we have so many environmental problems today is a vivid proof of that. Then another recent paper which we have published is climatance. It is like a remittance. It's a new word which was coined by me. Climatance and carbon tax mechanism, a case study of Indian coastal states. These are some topics or titles which I'm mentioning, which will be useful to those people who are really wanting to do PhD in environmental management, or they can do PhD in environmental management, or they can be their MBA dissertation programs, because many of the MBA graduates also they used to come to NEERI for doing their dissertation. From TERI also people used to come. So climate resilient economics should ideally deal with the following key questions. How can different countries and states strengthen and protect their economic performance while dealing with climate change and mitigation and adaptation? How can scientific and technological innovations in terms of climate change research be translated into direct economic and social relevance? What are the direct economic consequences of extreme weather events and rising sea levels? What kinds of socio-political and administrative reforms are needed so as to take care of air, water, and soil quality and noise quality, energy security amongst all the cross-sections belonging to different segments of socio-economic gradients? How do we build smart cities and smart villages which are not only digitally smart, but also smart from real sustainability point of view? How do we develop region-specific environmental management plans which appropriately and adequately take care of carbon emissions and various other pollutants emissions of different regions by balancing them against their sequestration and pollution mitigation issues? This is how, the most important element here is human health. Whatever we do, whether we are from a business institution or pure academic institutions, ultimately health is important to all of us. And during Corona crisis, we have realized it more than any time earlier. Now, human health is directly dependent on climate change issues and environmental pollution issues. You can see climate change, stratospheric ozone depletion, biodiversity loss and ecosystem function, freshwater decline, desertification, land degradation. All these issues are not only interlinked, they are finally linked with human health, which is so important. And believe me, there is absolutely no physical, chemical, biological process on the earth which is not related on temperature and humidity. To tell you very frankly, even computers, electronic stability is dependent on temperature and humidity. And that's why AC was initially invented to protect the computers. So temperature and humidity and their combination is so important. And they finally regulate human health. So protection of human health is important. And protecting human health, the best measure is to protect environment. And that's why environmental management is so important. We may earn in billions, trillions, whatever. We have great amount of GDP around us and for our country, for other countries and all. But ultimately, if our health is not protected, what is the use? So ecosystem health risk assessment. Actually, ecosystem health risk assessment also was a word coined by me. So we worked on this issue and we developed a model called SAVERA, and which includes air pollution, water pollution, and integration of it. It's a complicated diagram. I am not going to go into the details of that, but essentially the idea is to say this is 2001 paper. With me, some of my researchers, Balsamma Joseph, who is a professor in Cochin University now. These people had worked and we had published in Journal of Environmental System. Essentially, we should have ecosystem health report cards for all the districts. So that we can look into the issues related with climate change mitigation and environmental pollution mitigation. You can do environmental management only when you know that in a particular region, what are finally the sources which are emitting pollution and what are the sinks for those pollution. Carbon dioxide is being emitted, but there is a sink called tree. It can sequester. Similarly, for other pollutants also, there are various other pollutants, sulfur dioxide, nitrogenous oxides and all that. There are so many. For them, so for every region, we should identify the sources as well as the sinks. And the best on the emission potential and the sequestration potential, the mitigation potential, we should prepare ecosystem health report cards. For some countries, it has already been done. This is not my idea, but this same idea can be implemented for our country also. When we compare, there is something called Human Development Index, which is quantified on the following parameters: education, employment, economic well-being, and health. If you look at it closely, you will find that finally health is most important because health is dependent on education. Sorry, education is most important because health is dependent on education. Employment is dependent on education, and economic well-being is also dependent on education. So Human Development Index is essentially an educational index, which we should know. And I tell people that most of the time we look for the solutions for environmental pollution problems in the Ministry of Environment. Actually, the solutions are there in two different ministries. One is Ministry of Defense, and the other one is Ministry of Human Resources and Development. Now, you must be already warned why Ministry of Defense comes into picture. Ministry of Defense, because most of the equipments and most of the expenditure which is involved there is carcinogenic in nature. They're highly hazardous. They're highly pollution generating. So if you control 5% in the Ministry of Defense also, if you exercise control by 5% also, that will have tremendous influence on pollution mitigation ultimately. Meaning what I'm trying to say is, if really we believe that we are developed species today, that means, because I just now said that development index is directly proportional to educational index. So that means we must be very educated. If we are very educated people, then our tendencies for fighting should decrease. And if our tendencies for fighting should decrease, automatically it translates into saying that our defense budget should decrease. And if you decrease the defense budget instead of increasing every year, every country in the UN, if it sits down and decides that it will decrease the defense budget by 5%, all problems, most of the problems related to climate change and environmental pollution would be tackled and solved. But it's you know as much as I know that it's not going to happen. Now, what kind of education have we got? If we cannot reduce this tendency for fighting, that means our education is somewhere misplaced. We are not going in the right direction. That is what should be the aim, ultimately aim of our educational institutions, even business institutions, that we put the educational system on the right track so that people start thinking in the right direction and they take adequate measures in that direction. There are already statistical studies done which show that not always by increasing your GDP, you are going to have a better development or human development. These are the graphs. After some time, it plateaus. In some countries, it even comes down. So human development actually is not directly proportional to GDP. That we must realize. Most of the processes in nature you will find in cyclic of this kind. What goes up comes down. Sun rises, sun sets. And the most important factor in ecology is everything on the earth, everything in the solar system is being driven by sun. So if you have an electronics engineering background, I probably can explain it better. If the driving forces are oscillating in nature, sun rises, sun sets, and the other one is earth. So for every living and non-living process which is going on the earth, it is the interaction between sun and the earth which is important. And sun goes up, in the afternoon it comes down. The temperature goes up, comes down. Most of the processes on the earth are around the earth are cyclic in the solar system. So only those processes would be sustainable which go up and come down. In physics, it is known as simple harmonic motion. And pollution in terms of physics would be defined as highly damped, over-damped harmonic motion. Now, sustainability and climate change has already been equated. They're the same thing. They are two sides of the same coin. Normally, people speak of sustainability, then they speak of climate change. Very few people really appreciate and understand they're one and the same thing. The story of environmental management and climate change is like a story of 7 blind men and an elephant. 7 blind men, they were asked to describe an elephant, and they touched different parts of the elephant, and accordingly they described the elephant. Similar stories with environmental pollution. People from different disciplines, they are looking into the issues related to environmental management, and they have their own perspectives. I should say narrow perspectives. What we require is merging of their ideas and then taking an integrated perspective and approach. Now, these are some diagrams of ecological footprint, some works we had done. When I joined this institute, there was a very interesting exercise which was given to me by the then director, Professor Khanna. I remember him. That's how he's no more. So I somehow, by remembering him, I pay my homage to him. The exercise was to develop a computer simulation model for ecologically and economically sustainable district. We had mooted a concept of gross ecological product, GEP, to take care of GDP, to replace actually GDP. And this village model was just a part of that. You will be happy to know that the then collector, Mr. Harnam Singh, he is still alive. He was the person who sponsored that project. He was the collector of Nagpur district, and he was highly impressed. I made some presentation before him. Our director also made some presentation. He said, this is the kind of activity which are required at district level. So as long as he was the district collector here, he used to go with us. So we had selected some 7-8 villages around Nagpur district, and we used to go for monitoring and all, and to find out the environment problems in the rural and urban areas and how to take care of that. So this village model happened to be, this was a very important publication, Village Ecosystem Modeling and Regional Carrying Capacity Studies, which we had done. Then I made some presentation of Ministry of Environment and Forest. And Ministry of Environment and Forest, those days, it sponsored two very important projects. Carrying capacity studies for Doon Valley region, for which this publication is a result of that project. And the other one was carrying capacity studies for National Capital Region. These were very important studies because in 1989, the first Sustainable Development Conference, actually the invitation was to my director, Professor Khanna, but somehow he was not able to go. He had some domestic assignment. So he sent me on his behalf to participate. So first conference on sustainable development sponsored by Ministry of Environment and Forest that was held in Dehradun actually was attended by me. And I made some presentation which finally resulted in the kind of projects that Ministry of Environment and Forest sponsored to NEERI. So we did some ecosystem health risk assessment. Then then human health risk assessment also. So health risks of nitrogen oxides, suspended particulate matter, and sulfur dioxide in Delhi. And it was one of the co-author is another director who was in 2005, Dr. Sukumar Devota. We have this kind of studies done, how emissions through air, water, soil, and plants and animals, they impact on human receptor and what kind of health impacts they have. Then this is the photograph when I used to coordinate. This is late Dr. A.P. Mitra, who was the Director General of CSIR those days. And on his behalf, I used to coordinate the CSIR climate change program. And this is our Director, Dr. Devota. Some contributions which I am showing. Before we started coordinating climate change program, it used to be known as International Geosphere Biosphere Program. It was an international program, and these participants are from various countries. Those days, I used to be coordinating the land use and cover change program under International Geosphere Biosphere Program. So this photograph is from there. Then we had, in Corona time, you must have heard of this institute, CDC, Atlanta, which gave all the guidelines for Corona management and all. This photograph is from CDC. When I had visited CDC Atlanta, these are the participants of a program which we were doing, that health impacts of climate change implications. So these are the participants of that program. This was another program. These people are from ICMR and the various people from various medical institutes, scientific institutions, and engineering institutes. And these are our US partners. So we did many climate change, ecological, and carbon footprinting studies. Climate change, ecological, and carbon footprinting. So
Professor Pandey, time is.
Then I published a paper on synergy impact climate change and environmental pollution. Now it's time. Okay, so I will try to wrap it up. So similar studies are there. I will show you some photographs which will be interesting to you. In urban areas, we have problems of urban sprawl, overcrowding, housing, unemployment, slums and squatter settlements, transport, water, sewage problems, trash disposal, urban crimes, problems of urban pollution, etc. Similarly, you have these kind of problems, which are similarly, we have problems of rural Indias, and we can have management programs for them. I think I cannot resist myself from that temptation of showing Einstein's quote, and education is not the learning of facts, but the training the mind to think. I mean, I like this quote very much, which is grossly missing in our educational system these days. So environmental pollution, there are a lot of things I had collected what can be taught to under MBA program. You can just have a quick glimpse of all that. So these are some diagrams which require explanation, but I think we are already running short of time, so I will stop here. The story of environment is almost like a train, running train. Once it is derailed, in any sector, on any junction, then it will be very difficult to tackle. So thank you very much. I think yes, so much to show, but it will require some time.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Professor Pandey, for accepting our
questions. I will be happy to answer.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much for being with us today. And I would like to say something that, see, you're a typical scientist and you have given the different orientation than our regular academicians who are supposed to give a different type of presentation and also different version. So participants can easily make out the difference between the technical person and also the academic person. And I'm very, very happy that you have shared three important dimensions of the topic. One is academic institutions, what they can do related to in developing the human resources and understand the concerns of the environmental and ecosystem of various dimensions of the society. Very, very important. And second point is what are the contributions that you have made as a scientist in understanding the ecosystem of human resources. And of course, the third point is what the academicians are supposed to do. In this process, my observation is, as it is, I am sure that we both had discussed some time back to offer one course related to the environmental business, wherein the National Council of Mahatma Gandhi National Council of Rural Development Initiative, head office, they are also working in the similar lines in creating awareness about the changes that are seen in the environmental problems of the society. And do you think by introducing straight away an MBA program, a full-fledged MBA program, will there be takers, and also whether they can have a better employment opportunities is the one important issue? Or shall we think of introducing this as a credit course that in different semesters of the course, maybe in one semester or two semesters, some two subjects can be introduced in a particular. Of course, all said and done, it is not necessarily that this is for management schools alone. The environmental issues and ecosystem of the society is related to entire society. All types of institutions, general institutions, professional institutions, technical institutions, all institutions have to pay the attention to this particular issue, because if our next generation has to live happily, and we have to attempt and pay significant focus on these areas. But all said and done, what actually happens is the people who are the takers of the course, specifically the younger generation, they always look at it from the employment angle. So, what type of employment opportunities will be there if they do the full-fledged course? Or is it viable to introduce the credit course in different semesters. What is your thought on this particular?
I think certainly it is more practical to start with a credit course, no doubt, because the experimentation has to start. But already there are institutions which are giving those 2 years degrees. The advantages, I will tell you, all through our projects which we did, there is a lacuna in terms of environmental management. We do not have management graduates as such. Even in NEERI, we don't have management graduates. So environmental management is the most important part, and where full justice was not done. And actually, in most of the time, I had to tackle that problem. Although I am also not a management graduate, but Professor Khanna believed that I have that integrated picture in my mind, so I can do that. So I did that. Now, if we do introduce this as a conventional management course, employment opportunities are enormous because almost every industry has to get through that environmental impact assessment study. And I'm sure no industry has got management graduates as their employees. They're basically our own research fellows or project fellows who used to work with us. They're only employed. But management graduates are not there. So meaning I cannot guarantee employment opportunities, but I can certainly say the enormous scope is there. And if you feel it is worthwhile, you can do that also. Otherwise, if you feel it is more practical to start with credit course, one can start with that credit course. There is no problem. We can do that.
The second point, which I feel that sometime back, as I said, Mahatma Gandhi National Institute of Rural Initiative. Actually, what they did is you might have heard of it also. So they had an MOU with some universities across the country to introduce these courses, particularly waste management. Particularly the second aspect is pharmaceutical waste management and the risk management associated with the plastics, etc. I vaguely remember that they had an MOU with some nearly 19 or 20 universities and institutions. They had an MOU and they started promoting the awareness about some of these things. And of course, we don't know what is the present status of the same. But however, since you have taken as a social responsibility to promote the awareness about these particular issues, shall we encourage the institutions to give some credits those who have undergone these certificate courses or training programs? This is one observation which I feel. I don't know what you think of it actually. So that is one thing. Second important issue is unless we take this as a mission, it may not be so easily reach the last mile.
Right.
So, what is your suggestion that how to make this as take it this as a missionary orientation? What steps the academic institutions can do, particularly management institutions?
Oh, certainly we can. That's why I mooted that program to mentoring the mentors program.
Yes.
For we can have mentors for different institutions.
Yes.
We can do a program for mentors, and then those mentors can do sub-programs in their own institutions, where also we can give our inputs.
Yes.
2 levels it can be done. One program it's sort of skilling the mentors, and then mentors should skill their own institutions and people, individuals. Yes. And finally, it has to be translated into action through students and local participants. So that's a very good idea. Actually, if I remember first talk which we had, I don't know whether I was able to communicate properly, but this is what I had in mind. You had asked me what kind of activity you would like to do. So this is what I said. And we can be, you, me, we can be the coordinators of that kind of a mission mode program to be done through through other institutions also. That would be large scale. And for individual institutions who are interested, like they can do, like our own is, we have Institute of Management Technology at Nagpur. So actually all this I had prepared for them only. So they're going to soon start, and they're trying for past 1 year. So maybe they start this July, they start this course.
Yes. Another thing is that the new education policy 2020 also, somewhere in the document, it also mentioned about this particular issue, eco-friendly system, and also Indian knowledge systems, actually.
Right.
Indian knowledge system, which is very, very sustainable in nature in terms of the human development process and human resources, understanding the issues compared to the Western business model or development model. So they mentioned that there is a need to promote the Indian knowledge system, wherein conservation of environment is one of the important issues.
Right.
So what is your suggestion whether we can introduce some of the modules at UG undergraduate level or postgraduate level? Which one may be suitable, even much lower level? I don't know. What is your suggestion?
Lower level, it is there. I think they have course on environmental science and where it is taught, the conservation of natural resources and all. But the only thing is, because the society does not put much emphasis, as you know, but students get tempted by the money, so they get oriented like that, which job will get them more money and all. So they think environmental issues are secondary issues, and this will not fetch them a better salary or better job. So they neglect it. Otherwise, it is there, but certainly it should be there at all levels. And natural conservation of natural resources, that is the crux of that. Actually, if you can take care of it, automatically environmental management would be done. So even in the credit courses, we can have case studies. That's why I said case studies. Different regions can be taken up. And instead of following that routine pattern of examination and teaching in the class and all, we can involve the students in those case studies, guide them through that, and that will achieve our target of creating awareness also. If they select a particular village or a district, they go there, automatically awareness is generated, why these people have come, what it involves. We can even ask district collectors to also coordinate. Some of them can fund also. Like when our Mr. Harnam Singh was, almost he was providing the funding, all arrangements were done by him. We used to go and stay in forest guest houses and rest houses. So all these arrangements were taken care of. So we can involve district authorities. So it will earn a better name also, even in socio-political terms also, because if you want to really launch it in a mission mode, you require some political connections to bring it there. So I think we will have to evolve. For that, I think 2-3 of us, whoever you choose, we have to sit together and continuously work for a few months together. Then only we will come out with some concrete and practicable ideas. Because on paper, we can do a lot of things. But actually, ground realities are totally different. So when we sit or involve ourselves on a continuous mode somewhere, in your institution or wherever, then we can go along. And certainly this is there in my mind to do that. I'm not getting the right infrastructure and the right resources to do that. But ideas are there. If you wish I can be of any help to you, I'm willing to be. So
surely, that's what I mean. See, most of the participants who are there in this particular session, many of them are very senior academicians and professors and representing a number of institutions. I am sure that your idea will be definitely taken by some of these people, and we can work it out on this. Even AIMS is very much prefer to associate in these areas because it is not just to train the trainers and giving some degrees to the students and sending them out. And all the institutions have specific responsibilities to discharge towards the society. Earlier, we were talking about the social responsibility and corporate governance, etc., etc. Now, the time has come for all of us to focus on the environmental issues, eco-friendly environment, how to create it. And some type of machinery, GED is important to create awareness among the younger generations, those who are not very much focused in this particular area. But I am sure that if we focus much early in the lives of the younger generations, I am sure that their mindset will be more towards preserving the environment for the future. So unless we do something on this, I don't think there is a bright future for our next generations.
Right.
So your topic is definitely well taken, and of course, some of the points are highly technical. We are.
I think we will move away from that. We will
move these areas. However, I am very, very happy that we have touched the basic issue that the society is facing, and you try to give orientation towards the stakeholders of some of the B schools who can take some of these points into their preparation of the curriculum and the contents of the course. And also, you mentioned the case studies. Case studies are very, very important, particularly in evaluation of the students' understanding about the subjects. So these types of new changes will help the business schools to reorient themselves in offering new courses or insert some new ideas into the existing typical business management curriculum, so that the delivery practice, that is the pedagogy, also will be little different for this particular courses compared to the other things. I am sure that the participants in this particular session have some takeaways in this. I am sure that those who are interested in this particular area, they can reach out to Dr. J.S. Pandey, and we will provide his details. And all the participants, please feel free to interact with him. And he is available to help us. And Professor Ramesh is
raised his hand.
Raises his hand. And happy that all of us can work together and promote environment-friendly environment in academic institutions and also in the society. So I hope the session is very useful, and please feel free to interact with him in the days to come. And I have been closely interacting with him for quite some time. So in a similar way, please you also interact with him. Whatever is possible from his side, he will extend support to academic institutions. So I think with these few words, I once again thank the today's speaker, Professor Pandey, for accepting our invitation and also shared his knowledge with us. I am sure that we can leave the session with some different takeaways and also some few points. And of course, in 30-35 minutes session, we may not be able to share everything, but still he tried his level best to provide as much information as possible. I thank him on behalf of all of you and also AIMS. And I also thank all the participants for taking their time and join this particular session and shown the keen interest in this particular subject. In a similar way, in every week we are going to have 2 sessions regularly. I request all of you, please join whenever you find some time, and also let us create a better environment for our next generations. With these few words, I would like to thank everybody and let us close. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you. So I want to thank you and all the participants also.